Hello, welcome everyone. Hi there, I'm Naomi and I'm here with Elsie and Yasmin for this interactive Teaching English live session. I am now going to go live on Instagram as well, and then we'll be live. Wonderful. We're now going live on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. So I'm Naomi and I'm joined by Elsie Enanga and Yasmin Chaudhuri from our Teaching for Equality mini event. And if you're at the event, you'll have heard Elsie talking about how you can use low-cost tech tools to transform your teaching. And then Yasmin talked about how we can integrate social justice into our classrooms to improve both equity and language learning outcomes. So two different topics, but both focused on the idea of making our classrooms more inclusive and equitable for our learners. So this session today gives you the opportunity to ask your questions to both Elsie and Yasmin. So if you have any questions, pop them in the chat and we'll get around and answer them. So I'm just going to introduce you quickly to our speakers and then we'll hand over to them. So Elsie Enanga has over 16 years experience as a teacher and examiner in Cameroon, where she also provides recorded lessons for the Ministry of Secondary Education. In 2001, she contributed to the British Council's English Connects CPD video series, supporting EFL teachers. Elsie's work is focused on low resource contexts and how to provide accessible, quality education for all. And Yasmin is from Calcutta, India, and she has extensive experience as an English teacher to young adults in rural and semi-rural areas. And she's also an assistant professor in English with the West Bengal Higher Education Department. Her teaching focuses on building strong communication skills and linguistic confidence, tailored to meet the diverse needs of her learners. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, Yasmin. Welcome, Elsie. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about your sessions the other day, that would be great. Elsie first.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you all today, Yasmin and Naomi. Thank you so much. My session was is about bridging the digital divide and using low-cost edtech tools. And we find that these tools are common to educators all over the world. Maybe not all, but I think a majority of people, a majority of teachers can use low-cost edtech tools in their classrooms to motivate learners, to help them acquire the skills easily and practice more and produce those skills easily. So these low-cost edtech tools specifically refer to the use of a laptop, an Android phone, and a Bluetooth speaker. And all of these resources can easily help learners to navigate the digital divide. While we may not have the connectivity in some parts of the world all the time, we try to use these resources so that we'll be able to help our learners level up and meet up with global learners. They may not be left behind, they will not feel left behind, but they will be all included and they can have access to quality education just like learners on the other side of the divide. And with the use of these resources, we are able to narrow up, to maybe, why not close up that divide so that both learners each way can have access to quality education.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Elsie.
Thank you.
And just before we go over to Yasmin, I'll just say hello to some of our audience here. We've got Gifty from Ghana. Welcome. We've got Porn from Cambodia. Saeed. We've got Rosemary from the Philippines. Usman from Pakistan. And Abdul Ghaffar from Pakistan as well. And we've got Y from Myanmar. And another watcher from Cam from Pakistan. And then we've got lots of people in the audience over in Instagram as well. Welcome, Fatima. We've got Olivera. We've got Catherine, Vikash. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so now I'm going to hand over to Yasmin to just give a very brief overview of what she talked about the other week.
Right. Hello, Naomi. Thank you. Naomi, thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, Elsie. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here with all the three of you and connected to teachers from all over the world. I am grateful for this opportunity to be here with all of you today. The other day in the webinar, it was a wonderful experience. I got to connect with so many teachers from all over the world, and I spoke on social justice themes in language learning classroom and how I think it's high time finally we talk less about language learning in a language learning classroom and also talk about how we can empower learners at the same time. So language learning has to move in that direction. I have to make learners who speak fluent language. Together with that, I also want to create good empowered learners who know when they open their mouth what to speak about, not just how. So that was essentially what my session was about.
Wonderful. That's, yeah, such important topics, both of those, and for really helping our learners. Okay, so everyone, if you have any questions for either Yasmin or Elsie, pop them in the chat and we'll answer them as soon as possible. But to start with, I have a couple of questions. So I think the first one, I would like to put it to both of you, Yasmin first, but actually it's, what are subsocial justice issues? I think it's a very broad term, and it'd be great to have some examples just to give some framing. Yasmin. Oh, have we frozen?
Absolutely. So social justice issues, right. Am I back? Naomi, am I audible?
Yeah,
visible,
yeah. I think it was me. Yes.
Yes. Naomi,
Perfect.
am I on?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Right.
Can you
okay,
hear me?
Absolutely. So yeah. I did border on this a little in the webinar. Yes. Yes, I can, Naomi. So I did border a little on this in the webinar as well. Social justice issues primarily depends on the context largely. So it is going to look very, very different depending on the context. So if I talk from an Indian context, I am going to talk about broader social justice themes like environmental issues, like gender issues, like vote and rural and semi-rural and urban contexts. When I look at America, let's say, I think a very broad social justice issue to be talked about would be race and a multicultural classroom. In India, it becomes multilingual and not so much as multicultural. So very, very context specific, very, very context defined. And I'm happy that universities and colleges and schools all over are seriously looking into curriculum planning. Syllabus is being framed accordingly, where students are being exposed to multiple topics in English, particularly. For example, Indian students are being taught a bend in the river by V.S. Nepal. So sitting in India, you get familiarized by, let's say, the African context, and you learn about the cultural context there, the language context, the French domination over native languages. And then students get to talk about that because in India it's so similar. There is a domination of a foreign language over certain regional languages. So linguistic inclusion would then become a very, very interesting topic in the Indian context. So these are some large social justice issues.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really interesting. Elsie, I was just wondering if you have any thoughts on some social justice issues in your area.
Yes, yeah, they do. There are lots of concerns in my area, and we find ourselves dealing with governance. See the issue of governance, good governance, and it's such a great issue that runs across sometimes the literature that is taught in the classroom, and how leaders can be held accountable for their actions. And so mostly our social justice tends to want accountability from our leaders. It tends to make people aware about corruption and how to desist from corrupt practices. And in the classroom, the teacher has that role to help learners to be aware, especially as Yasmin mentioned, on climate action, how to live in a world which is sustainable. So in the classroom, there are lessons, the curriculum sustains that social justice thought to climate action through citizenship, proper citizenship, like encouraging people to vote, know their rights, and not desist from voting, because sometimes most of our countries also suffer from voter apathy, and people don't want to get involved because they think the system is the same and there are no changes. So there is some literature and there's some awareness in the classroom for learners, in the Cameroonian classroom, for learners to adopt some sort of social justice consciousness as they grow, as they move from stage to stage, so that the world or our context changes before we move into the global scene. We are involved in that too in my context.
Thank you so much. I think one of the interesting things I found from your webinar, Yasmin, was that you said it was not just but social justice can be a much smaller and more personal thing as well in a classroom. I just wondered if you could just mention a little bit about that, some of the more smaller issues that might be an easier starting point for some teachers.
Right, absolutely, Naomi. Thank you so much for that question. So when I spoke about how social justice always does not necessarily have to rest on broad topics, but can be very personal, I also meant when we introduce social justice, let's just say primary sections to younger children, younger learners. So I was talking about personal issues related to identity mostly. And identity is such a debatable topic, and language learning itself is so closely linked to identity. We have to bring that in language learning classrooms, particularly in multilingual, multicultural contexts like we have in 21st century language learning context. And so when students are made to feel aware of the awareness that you can talk about identity in a language learning classroom, even if you're learning a language that is not necessarily your own, you're learning a language which is foreign, but your identity matters, your voice matters. So even when we start from very, very deeply personal topics, these topics are social justice topics. So that is what I meant when I said we can start with simple, very basic, relatable topics and move to broader community-oriented topics. So yes, always it's so not right away. When we talk about gender empowerment and gender equity, so when we start from something very simple as what about in your own houses, what do you observe in your own family, talk to me a little about your own family context, and then we move on to community, so that link is very smooth, the association becomes simpler, easier, students understand why such topics even need to be talked about. When they see things happening in their own families, they understand it's happening in the broader community. So yes.
That's so true, so true. And I think when we make the lessons personal like that, it makes it so much easier for our learners to engage. They want to talk about themselves. Right. Everyone loves to talk about themselves.
Absolutely.
So it's
the trigger works.
Yeah, it motivates our students to speak, which is something that we often have to do.
Right, and the anxiety is so low.
Yeah.
Right, I've seen this. The anxiety is low. You're not having to generate ideas. You've seen this happen in your own houses and families. So you're talking from personal experience. So the trigger for speaking is already there. So really works.
Wonderful. Okay, now I see we have a comment here from Gifty, but just anyone, if you would like to ask questions for Yasmin and Elsie, please pop them in the chat. But we've got a comment from Gifty here. It's quite a long one. I'm going to pop it on the screen, but it's a bit long to read. But just it is mentioning how technology promotes equality in teaching by making learning materials accessible to more students. And things like recorded lessons, videos, and online platforms allow students to continue learning even if they can't attend regular classes, which helps learners in remote areas or those with limited access benefit from the same educational opportunities as others. So Elsie, I'd love it if you could talk a little bit about what some of those simple tools that can make learning accessible to learners in these remote areas, from your experience.
Yes, we'll find out that with the advent of COVID in 2020, many people sought to these various digital forms digital platforms in order to get instruction of any sort of meetings. People had to communicate one way or the other. And those of us in our context, we are not left out. And that same year, we had a series of lessons uploaded to YouTube. It was something new. We had never seen that before. So teachers come together, they record lessons, and then these lessons are uploaded onto YouTube for learners, wherever they find themselves, just to get internet or connectivity time, so that they will be able to stay in the stream, stay connected. And during that period where everybody was in the lockdown, they had to continue with their studies. And so I think that this is really relevant even till today, because we have people, we have context where connectivity is an issue. And so if these materials, these lesson plans, or these full drawn up lessons are already uploaded or somewhere downloadable on the Teaching English website for some teacher in a remote area, it makes teaching, makes learning easy. It's an excellent way to continue the learning process. Imagine if a teacher is somewhere, he doesn't have textbooks, he doesn't have the right resources, he's maybe locked in some area, difficult with connectivity issues. He can just, when he gets the time, upload as many lessons as he can onto a USB flash drive, onto his phone SD card, and then replicate, use them later. And with that, we are ensuring that we stay along with the others who have continuity of internet services all the time. So no one is left out. And it brings to my mind something that says we have no excuse. There's no excuse we can give these days and say, okay, it's because of my background, it's because of where I come from. That's why I cannot have access. I cannot do anything. So there's no more excuse. Once we have the little time, the little effort we place in, a little effort, we can be able to show our learners, maybe not all, the partial globe, and then we lean on that to develop the full picture. No learner deserves to be left behind. So with the use of uploaded lessons, teaching tips, teaching techniques that are on online platforms, which are downloadable and which can be used later on, I think that learners have this access to this inclusive form of education we are trying to encourage and trying to bring forward. No learner should be left behind. Everyone has a right, has the opportunity to get some sort of global education rather than staying glued, closed up in a circle. We should move out. We should look for new methods to be able to engage our learners.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. It shows how something quite small like a flash drive, a phone, can make such a huge difference. Okay, so let's have a quick look. Any questions there from the audience? Has anyone got a question? Otherwise, I have some more. I have loads of questions for you guys. I have one actually that I think probably for both of you. Yasmin first, but I think when with some of these social equity issues, I think they can be a little sensitive, obviously. And have you got any tips for dealing with situations where learners quite strongly disagree with each other? Sort of de-escalating, I guess. Can you hear me, Yasmin?
Right, Naomi. It might happen in advanced classes. Yes, Naomi, I'm here. Can you? Yes, right. So it does happen in advanced classes, particularly where language learning social justice issues tend to become more debatable sometimes. So the important thing is at the end of the day, it's a language learning classroom. So students' voices are important. So the voices need to be heard and not bulldozed over. So yes, I agree. So in such cases, I think the teachers as facilitators in 21st century classrooms will have to have the responsibility to steer the communication positively, and make students aware that what we are doing at the end of the day is trying to achieve language learning. So focusing more on the vocabulary, steering the conversation away to more reflective writing exercises. These are certain tactics that the teachers will have to engage actively, steer the classroom towards very productive results, and see to it that topics do not necessarily stoop to low debates and identity politics, because that's not the aim. The aim at the end of the day strongly remains language learning. So putting up vocabularies and ideas and asking students to write, silent writing activities help. And also the fact that we have to listen. We have to listen to the other, and much later try to frame our conversation around debating. First listen, know the idea of the other, and try to understand the idea and inculcate that in your writing. So for and against topics, very, very helpful argumentative essays to be written. So you listen to the learners, you listen to the others, you understand their point of view, and you write them in your own essays. So that's a wonderful project idea as well. So seeing to it that the temperature of the classroom does not necessarily get into debates and fights, but creating that very debate into a very healthy space of language learning, healthy writing exercises, argumentative topics, that would help.
Wonderful.
And I think here the teacher's role becomes very fundamental.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing. Okay, and we've had now a question from Gifty, jumping back to the topic of technology. So going back and forth between technology and social equity. So Elsie, how can we bridge the gap in access to technology between well-endowed schools and deprived schools that lack even the most basic amenities? That's quite a challenging question. If you need a moment to think, let me know. But if you have an answer now, that would be lovely.
Yeah, I think that for me, I think the part played should rely on the teacher. The teachers have the know-how. The teachers have to seek some way of getting motivation and getting training to be able to move out. Even if you are in an area where you don't have the resources, but you've got the training, you've been exposed, you move on, you can get training, you can seek help, and that is what will make the difference. Even if you are in a resource-constrained area, for me, I think it's the teacher. We've got to the point where teachers have to make the first step. Wherever you find yourself, wherever you are, even if you are in a deprived school, there are no basic amenities, you as the teacher, you make the first step. It begins with you, because in the game or in the film or in the movie. So you are the one to move forward and say, okay, despite the fact that I come from this area, I lack, excuse me, I lack these amenities, I will make the difference. I will just make a little effort. I will do the best I can to help my learners level up. So we have schools that have all the amenities. They have the digital labs, they have the computer science equipment and all of that teachers can use. But for the teachers who come from these areas where they don't have these amenities, it is time for them to just take a little step forward. Forget about the inconveniences around them and step out and level up and get training. And how do we do that? It's being in a community of practice. When you are in a community of practice, when you are connected with others, when you seek help, when you get training, that is what helps you to move, to thrive, in spite of the circumstance in which you find yourself. Every one of us on the globe, we cannot have it all. Even those in the resource endowed areas have their own difficulties and challenges. So it is left for the educator to make the first step, getting that consciousness, that awareness that I need to make a difference. I need to help my learners no matter where they come from. Maybe not through technology generally. We've had students with excellent results coming from very deprived areas. And it may surprise you, the best teachers winning awards these days are from deprived areas. And those are teachers taking the extra step. And so we too must not lag behind. The educator must not lag behind. You need to get the right training. You need to move forward in spite of the dangers. We've had teachers crossing deep water, deep rivers to go and dispense knowledge. And you can make it if you just choose, if you try. So, like I said before, there's no excuse. It depends on the educator. It relies on the educator. If the educator is aware, he has that consciousness that I have this mandate, I have this role to play towards my learners, there's no, I don't think we cannot make it. The divide can still move. So the teacher needs training, the teacher needs courses, he needs to collaborate with others, around, get the right sort of training and exposure, and then you can take it back in any form to your area where you come from. So it depends on the teacher. If the teacher decides, if the teacher wants to level up, to bridge that divide, he will get the resources and adapt them. These days we can have resources to adapt in context. So you can adapt resources, you can look for ways, inspiring methods from other teachers, and then bring them back to where you are to make your lessons up to date. We don't necessarily need technology in everything. We have been moving before. We have been helping our learners before, and we can still do it and do it better. So I think technology is there to help, is to help us move forward, but the teacher, even with all those resources, may not still be able to deliver the goods if he's not in the right frame of mind, if he doesn't see any opportunity in that area. So the teacher needs to level up, build up, and then he'll be able to transmit knowledge.
Oh, wow. What inspiring words there, Elsie. I think our audience there are really, really finding the inspiration in that as well. We've got like rounds of applause from Lakshmi and Asma and Ike's saying, what an inspiring discussion. So that's lovely.
Right.
Now, I think we're coming close to the end. So, oh, sorry, Yasmin.
No, absolutely. That was beautiful, Elsie. And I would also like to talk about collaboration. Yes, so that is something that really works. So the same, very, very similar problems faced in third world countries, particularly where there's this big bridge between well-endowed private institutions and government-funded schools. And the technology is definitely very, very it's an issue, definitely. Access to it is an issue. So what works here are memorandums of understanding where we can send students to the private institutions and teachers, valuable teachers, the resources. So they go to these private institutions to share their knowledge, and in return our students can go to these well endowed good institutions with good technology. So memorandums of understanding heavily when teachers take the initiative, like Elsie mentioned repeatedly, the initiative from the teachers to create these collaborative networks with institutions who have good access to technology, in return where teachers can exchange their knowledge. This works and it's appreciated in an ecosystem where this is an accepted fact that some institutions are poorly funded while others are not. So it's no longer a secret, it's visible to all. And so with that understanding, when we start collaborative networks amongst teachers and students, student exchanges, teacher exchanges, and particularly in respect to technology, this really works in language education. Because a lot of government colleges do not have language labs. So students do go to private institutions where there are language labs. Yes. And the teachers head these sessions from the government institutions. Yeah.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I mean, collaboration is absolutely key as well. I think that's what everyone here is hopefully doing. We're all here to learn from each other. We're all here to inspire each other and develop our skills. I think as we've got a couple of lovely comments here from our audience, from YouTube. Well said, Elsie. A teacher in a deprived area needs to be more proactive in their learning in order to bring the students up to speed. That's from, I think, Dora Isaac. And then, Gifty as well, saying, she said, motivation can make the difference. When teachers are highly motivated, they're more likely to give their best despite the challenges they face. It's the same with our students, isn't it? Motivation is key for them, but it's also key for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can just say something. Okay. All right. I just wanted to say that there is something really important in the power of collaboration. If we just collaborate, if we can just lean on others, not necessarily maybe trying to show, maybe trying to climb on us, no, but collaborating, helping each other, because we learn every day. We learn every day. So when we collaborate, there are some teachers who do not attend webinars, they do not have any interest. And how do you expect? What do you expect? So we must collaborate, seek out, move out from your comfort zone or from the uncomfortable zone, like I say, and it will help a lot.
Thank you so much. So we're running out of time here. So I'm just going to ask both of you if you have any final words for our audience. So I don't know, Yasmin first, if you have any final words you'd like to give to our audience on these topics, other than we wish you had more time. Got a little delay here. Yasmin, can you hear me? Oh. Okay, Elsie, do you have any final words?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes,
I hope okay. All right, go ahead, Yasmin. Okay.
Right, so I'll be wrapping up here now. Yes, there's a bit of delay. I cannot follow.
Okay, so Yasmin, any final words? I think, no, Elsie, Yasmin, I think is having a delay.
Okay. What I would like to say, I hope I can hear, everyone can hear me, is that we need to move out. We need to be to seek. We don't need to be satisfied with our results. We need to make an effort. The teacher, the educator is at the center of the learning process. Even though we try to move away from having a teacher-centered learning, but the teacher, he shows the way, he leads, he points at the direction at which the learners have to go, and which maybe colleagues too have to go. So when you're motivated and when you seek out, you will help your learners a lot. Let's not stay and continue giving excuses. There's no excuse anymore. We need to move out. We need to make ourselves heard and help our learners.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. I wish we had more time because you both have so many wonderful ideas we could share, but right. I'm afraid we're out of time. So I'm just going to thank you both for such a wonderful and inspiring session. I think everyone here is going to go home and feel very inspired. Well, they probably are at home because it's a Saturday, but so thank you both so much. And I'm going to say thank you all to our audience as well for your lovely comments. So many kind comments today. So thank you and goodbye. And we'll hopefully see you all we're going to have some webinars next Friday as well. So hopefully see you all there. And take care and goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.